Alright, 4L60E. Tear this one down. The ones that have the removable bell housing, the earlier models take a Torx 50 plus, and this is what it looks like. Starting in about, I think it was 2010, they went to a different one. At the time, the only person I could get it from, I think, was Mac, I think is where I got mine from. Doesn't say on it, but it's a VTS-4. Now, they didn't have a holder for it. All you could buy was a bit, and it was expensive as hell. And I think now everybody's carrying them, and they do come in a bit holder, but I don't know what the part number is from them. If your bolts don't want to come out, keep some forward pressure on it. If they don't want to come out, I use a 1/2 inch impact. If they still don't want to come out, you need to heat up back there where the bolts go into the case with a torch. You can use a mini torch a lot of times. I have had a couple occasions where I had to use a large acetylene torch and get it rather warm to get them out. They like to Loctite them from the factory. Don't start rounding it out, because then you're chiseling it out of there, and it's a pain to do that. On the speed sensor. $15mm on the bell housing. You want me to 13mm on the pan. $13mm on the detent. Unplug your PWM solenoid and go ahead and take it out, pulling this clip out. Your 3-2 downshift solenoid, pressure switch manifold, both shift solenoids, and your EPC. $10mm on your lockup solenoid. Pull that out of the way. 10 millimeters here. Millimeters accumulator cover. Onto accumulator springs. They're somewhat bad about breaking. The plastic accumulator you probably want to change out with the steel one. They're bad about cracking in here. And the ones that are aluminum, you want to check the pin and make sure it's not wallered out. Eight millimeters right here. Eight millimeters here. The 3/4 accumulator spring. Check the 3/4 accumulator. Make sure the pin's not wobbling around in there. $13 on your part deal here. You don't have to take it all the way out. You just want to loosen it enough that you can get the piston out. You can take a 1-inch socket or thereabouts and go around the wiring harness and pop it out usually. If it doesn't, and it breaks those tabs off, ain't a big of a deal. You can just put silicone around the inside, or you can get a new harness. I always just silicone it. Get your flat blade screwdriver and pop out your snap ring. Your servo. I'll hand wash this part of it. Thirteen's on the front. Your check ball's picked up here. Thirteen's on the back of the pump. Check this surface right in here where the drum rides on these sealing rings. Make sure it's not ring cut. Make sure your surface here is nice and smooth. We're going to look on our slide, and if there's any areas that look messed up and it's turning a shiny silver color, like right there, and if you can pick that up, it's starting to wear out right there. I'm going to replace this slide. Band's almost always burnt. Reverse input clutches. replacing this drum. It should just come right out of there. So you need to look down in here where that cushion plate rides, right down here in the bottom, and see how bad it is down there. And a lot of times you can just flip this over. It's normally sitting in there like this. You can just flip it up like this, and if it's not bad enough where that sits, you'd be okay. But this one's looking pretty bad. Check your input shaft to make sure it don't have any movement at all. If it does, I would just replace the drum. I know a lot of people will drive it out and Loctite it in place, put it back in. I don't. I just replace it. 3/4 clutches. These are almost always burnt. These are in fairly decent shape. We can reuse all those steels. Normally I'm replacing the steels and the pressure plates because they're just burnt to a crisp. Pull out your forwards and your overruns. Bearing here. Here's our overrun clutches. Our forwards. Our forward sprag. I always replace it, but you can, if you grab this thing and it spins both directions, you're probably going to need to replace the races too. This always gets replaced when I'm doing them, especially if it's a single cage, but even the double cages that come in the later models, if that washer's all wore out, if they got any mileage at all on them, I'm replacing them. Need a pair of snap ring pliers to get in here and get the snap ring off the sun gear. Go. Our front planet and hub. Make sure that these don't have any pits in them, that they turn freely, don't bind, don't have any wobble in them. Make sure this bearing down in here feels okay. No missing teeth in here. Surface looks good. Bearing's okay. Sun shell, this one's stripped out. A lot of times when it strips out, it'll pop this snap ring off of here. You can just put it right back on. It'll be fine. 4-tab plastic washer. Get you a long screwdriver. Having a little hook in here does help. You can get it between the case and that snap ring, and you're going to give a twisting motion and kind of pull, and it will pop that snap ring out enough that you can get onto it and pull it out. Just pop the back end onto something, pop that center support out of there. If it doesn't, if you look up in the crates, let me check this out here real quick. Same thing here. This planet's going. We got missing teeth, so that means the sun gear's not going to be any good either. I wouldn't run it, even though it looks okay. I wouldn't run it. I'd get a whole set. 2 bearings in there. Make sure they're okay. Output shaft come out the back. And if you look in the case where this little anti-rattle clip is sitting on the sprag assembly, and it sits, let's see, where are we at here? Where it sits, I don't know if you can see down in there, where it sits right here, there's a little spot where the clip is fitting in, and it sits in there. Let's see if I'm getting this right. Sits in there just like so. You get your pair of snap ring pliers right here. Straight ones work better. What you do is you get in here on the case, and right there you give it a little twist, and it'll turn that enough. It'll come out of the spot that it's worn in the case, and just give it a shove and it'll come out. We got to check our sprag assembly. We're turning, holding one way. That's good. And our piston down in here. This is a little tool you buy from, I think I got mine from ATEC Trans Tool. I think you can buy them off a Snap-on truck. There's other people that make them. What you're going to do is get in on the lugs of the case, and then that bottom piece is going to push down on the return spring. Tighten it down until it's tight. You're going to leave the opening of your snap ring over on one edge, and then you're going to get your snap ring pliers. And Snap-on used to make a pair of snap ring pliers that fit in here perfectly and worked excellent for doing this. They've since changed it, and it just doesn't fit in there right, even grinding it down like they told me to. Said they would still warranty it even if I ground it down. They just don't fit in there right anymore. And this other pair is just a little bit too small, but it does work. And I think somebody's put this snap ring in upside down because they ain't being able to get a hold of it. It's wanting to pop off of it. What I do is I get it started on one side, and pull it out. After that, it's not quite enough to get it to open up all the way and take off. Let's see if somebody put it in upside down. Yep. This out. Our return spring. Turn the case up. Get an air blower and blow air in that hole. And our piston comes out. I'm going to go take these drums down here and take them apart. I'll show you what's in them. Alright, we got the snap ring. We got a return cage. You usually give it a pop, and it'll either shoot air in it or give it a little pop, and they'll come off. 3/4 piston, or ply cage, overrun piston, forward piston. Make sure that they're in good shape. If this has had water in it, I would replace them. This one I don't think has had any water in it. If you get any units that have really high mileage on them, or they're starting to feel stiff, I would replace those pistons. And now we're going to place this drum. So let me go make up the list and we'll be back. Alright, here we go. We're going to put an LS kit. I put plastic filter, they know what I'm talking about. This filter comes in after probably 2000. There's several different filters for this training, so just make sure you're getting the right one. Pump bushing, case bushing, and both stator bushings, bare minimum, I always replace. The band, of course, the forward sprag, which is I just tell them overdrive, they know what I'm talking about. Sun shell, there's two different sun shells. There's a washer style and the bearing style. If you have a washer style and they send you the bearing style, you're not going to be able to use it because there's no place to put the washer. You're going to either have to swap over to the bearing style front planet hub, or you're going to have to get the right one. Now if you have a bearing style and they send you the washer style that has the holes, you can use it. Don't worry about it, just stick it in there. The rear planet set, I want to accumulator a small pin. There's two different ones. There's large and small depending on the year that you have, and they should know, but they screw it up anyway. Reverse input drum, both shift solenoids I always replace. The EPC solenoid, if it's getting up around 200,000 or close to it, it don't matter, it gets replaced. And then the torque converter, there will be a tag on your converter. I'll tell you what it is, and this one happens to be a TMBX. After I shut the camera off, I realized that I forgot to put on there the pump slide vane and rotor kit, so I had to add that to the paperwork, and that needs to be replaced on this also.